All right, so we finally have all three of us here in the same place. So Ryan, Jiva, and myself, Koukun. Just want to share a little bit about what we're seeing in the market. As a team, we've been able to help a good few people purchase investment properties just these last couple of months, and it's definitely been a crazy time to be a buyer. We saw the market lift like incredibly between December, November to January, February. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan, why don't you share? So in Welland, a good few of the offers that we got accepted. I remember you had a 2-week time period when you were almost putting an offer a day for different clients, and it was tough though, right?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. In both January and February, I put in over 20 offers, easily in both months. So for sure, you're definitely in there, putting in a lot of offers. So from the investor side, obviously, we're not end users or anything like that. So the numbers have to make sense, right? So we can't really get crazy. We have to kind of stay diligent in our process, which sometimes can be emotionally straining for both the client, as well as obviously us. We're working a little harder to get a deal done, but particularly from the client side, and you can see it where sometimes if a client loses out on 3, 4, 5, 6 properties, they can start to maybe be a little bit irrational, and that's where we have to really kind of just make sure we're having those conversations with them and just telling them we got to stay patient, and at the end of the day we have to look on the underlying fundamentals, and I think as we've stayed patient, our clients have still been able to get good deals, but it's just they have to go through the process a few more times than maybe they would have like a year ago.
Yeah, especially recently, just the last couple of weeks, we noticed things didn't slow down a lot, but they kind of calmed down. There was there were a few deals that kind of went under the radar. They didn't sell to the crazy over asking numbers that we saw just like a week or two earlier. And what we noticed is there was a whole lot more listings that came up for sale, people wanting to cash in on these new higher prices. So it kind of helped, right? Because if we lost on one, there were still other good opportunities that we could place bids on. So that really helped. Now, Jiva, you had a listing in Oakville. So a little bit of a different type of property now. We're looking more at, this was an investment property as well that your clients ended up selling, right?
It was principal residence or investment, depending on the end user. It ended up being somebody who was going to live in there themselves. Great property on Bronte and Dundas in Oakville. Great area to live. I think definitely for a long-term investment as well.
Yeah. Now that property you mentioned when you initially spoke to these clients about listing it, at that time they would have been lucky if they got around 680, right? That was kind of the numbers that we...
Right, and that was late last year, and as we saw just recently after December onwards, there's a few houses that hit the market, ended up surpassing 7. One sold for 740s. But now again, what Ryan touched on, now everyone, all the neighbors see the records being set, and now everybody wants to sell at the same time.
Yeah.
So then we went through about 2-3 weeks of 4 properties on the market in that area, and now just recently they were able to get asking for it, which worked out awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time where we really have to navigate it. The market hasn't slowed down per se, but there's different pockets of opportunities, right? We have a few clients now looking to sell some of their properties closer to the GTA, Hamilton, or even Mississauga, Toronto side, and then redeploy the funds out here. And we're starting to see closer to Toronto the market warm up. It was quite cool, I would say, over the summer, but things have started to warm up there. And out here, it became ridiculously hot, but now it's still active, just not as crazy, because there was a time where it was literally crazy. You couldn't look at comparable sales to decide on an offer. You could take the nearest comparable sale, add 50,000, and you may have still lost.
Yeah, seriously, that's it was crazy.
So I'm personally happy for the more supply and just a little bit more calmness, right? The more supply especially gives us a bit more hope, right? So it's now a little bit easier to lose on a property because you know that there's a few other options. Right. Still not great to lose on multiple in a row, but at least there's more options, right? So if you lose on one, it's not the only good option for that month, right? There's a good few. So any tips for investors looking to buy right now, things they should expect, or just Yeah, any words of advice?
I think the biggest takeaway right now is not to be disgruntled, as Ryan mentioned. I've had a few experiences where some investors did feel disgruntled because they weren't able to get the properties that they wish they acquired originally in January, February. But definitely now you're starting to see more inventory come on the market, and yeah, it should be a little bit easier, but biggest thing is don't lose hope, don't get disgruntled. Let us do our thing, and we'll find something that fits your portfolio.
Perfect. Ryan?
Just echo what Jiva said there. Just patience.
Yeah.
You have to be patient when you're always being an investor. But now, especially more so, you've got to really be patient, and you still obviously got to be cognizant of what's going on. And if you're losing by $60,000 every time, you might have to adjust your thing. But if you're losing by 5 or 10, there's no need to make that $30,000 jump, right? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like, if you're getting close, then we're close. Just let's stay patient, and our numbers are right. We just got to keep kind of staying in that space and playing in it, right? There's a line that kind of always got told to me when I started doing this, and it was, you can't catch fish if there's no line in the water, right? And if you're not playing the game, you're not going to catch anything. So if you're sitting back waiting for the market to crash, good luck. If you want to sit here and you want to keep being responsible and utilize your numbers and staying active, that's where you're going to get deals done. So
yeah, I think that last point is one of the biggest things I will even echo. It's just for those of you that have purchased a property in the last even year or two, it may be tough to even consider the prices that homes are selling for now. But again, as investors, we need to take a step back, run the numbers. If it does make a positive cash flow, that's the numbers we have to look at. Just the sticker price of what it's selling for now versus what it sold for last year or the year before, that's not really investing, right? That's just, this is what the market is. We don't get to choose whether we want to invest in this market or go to a cheaper one, right? That's always a choice you have. But in this market, you don't get to choose to pay this year's prices versus last year's or the year before, right? So we're still diligent. We're still focusing on cash flow. We're running our numbers, income, expenses. We're using the most up-to-date data we have of what our other clients have rented out their properties nearby and sort of the income expenses. So we want to make sure that we're on top of that. But if a property is cash flowing, call it $500 or more, I personally think it's a win. There are many markets now, Hamilton, Kitchener, where it's getting really tough to even find any cash flow. Like I'm hearing of people doing duplex conversions where they get it done and then they break even, or they have like a tiny amount of cash flow, right? So at least out here in the Niagara region, we're still seeing some margin there. So I say get it while it's still there, right? Yeah. A little Team Koukun update for you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. If you are interested in investing in the Niagara region, check out our beginner's guide to investing in the Niagara region at niagarainvestor.ca. We go through some of the fundamentals that's driving this region right now, and you can get your free copy there. All the best.